Hey, with good fam, it's Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. I mean it when I say it. We appreciate you more than you know. New feature on Bama Insider. This is a reaction video to Nick Saban's most recent press conference. Here's Nick Saban from Wednesday night.
And, look, I think you all saw the statement that Jay Graham, put out. Jay made a decision to do what he did, and we're going to support him every way that we can. And we certainly wish him and his family the very best for what they do. Obviously, our plan is to improvise and adjust. I think we have other people that can help us coach special teams. Todd Watson, who was an assistant intern doing special teams. We just activated him to, do it for now, and we'll start a search and see if we can find the best coach. And, there's no timetable for doing that. We want to really try to get the best person that we can get. It's not an ideal time. Lots of people in spring practice, so we'll just have to see how it goes and how that process ends up. We just started that a little bit today.
I think with Jay Graham, first of all, Jay Graham came out with a statement. We read that on BamaInsider.com, cited mental health issues. And I think, number one, it took a lot of courage for Jay Graham to come out and say that it was mental health issues. I think that, considering everything that the country went through, the world went through in 2020, you got to think that a lot of people trying to rebalance their lives. So I think that Nick Saban saying that they're going to do everything to support Jay Graham, I think that was big on both parties. Moving forward, what does it mean for the Alabama Crimson Tide? Well, obviously it means that they need a tight ends and special teams coach. Remember last season, it was Jeff Banks who helped Alabama, not only with the tight ends and special teams, but also on the recruiting front. So I think right now it is a busy time, like Nick Saban said. And I'm curious to see the direction that Saban goes during the springtime in trying to acquire a new tight ends and special teams coach. He mentioned Todd Watson. Todd Watson also comes over from Tennessee. He'll be helping out with the tight ends. Nick Saban's also going to talk about the tight ends later in this video. Mentions that the tight end room a little bit banged up. Said that Major Tennyson has an undisclosed injury. Robbie Oots, their new early enrollee, has a hamstring. So you look to Jaleel Billingsley to provide some of that leadership. Also mentioned some good things about Cameron Latou. We continue with Nick Saban's press conference.
Okay, thanks, Coach. We'll start with Charlie Potter.
Yeah, Coach, I just want to ask you about Keilan Robinson. Just what kind of shape is he in, and what have you seen from him so far this spring?
He's doing great. He's got great speed. He's gotten bigger and stronger. He's really playing fast. He's playing really good on special teams. He's a potential kickoff returner for us. He was before when he was a freshman. So, that's certainly a role. And he's made great progress as a running back. He's got pretty good carryover knowledge and experience wise from, the year before. And I'm really pleased with what he's been doing so far.
I think when you look at a player like Keilan Robinson, I think as Alabama Crimson Tide football fans, everybody's excited to see what he's going to bring to the table in 2021. This is a guy a couple seasons ago, as Saban said, showed flashes of the juice, right? He has that big burst, good amount of speed. All signs point to opting out. We've talked about that countless times. He's put on some really good weight. Even Brian Robinson recently said that coming into this season. So I think when you look to all-purpose style backs, Keilan Robinson going to fit that mold. I think it was interesting that Saban just said that he could be used in kick return situations. Remember last year at the tail end of the season, Alabama used Jaleel Billingsley, tight end, to return kicks. I think that was the first time anyone's seen a tight end return kicks, but that also shows the type of athleticism that Billingsley has. But we're all excited about this running back room, right? From the news that Trey Sanders is even back participating with the team, Brian Robinson coming back for his extra senior season, and then Keilan Robinson back. Not to forget about, other guys like Jace McClellan, Kyle Edwards, Roydell Williams, and then the new addition, Kamar Wheaton. Talk about a stacked running back room going into the 2021 season. We continue with Saban.
Okay, we'll go to Michael Casagrande. Michael, go ahead.
Yes, when you look at the offense and considering how many guys graduated or went pro, what are your biggest curiosities as to what you'll be able to accomplish this spring in these 15 practices?
Well, I just think we really got to focus on, how do we improve and develop the players that we have. I think we went through the similar process last year on defense where we had like 8 new starters, 4 new guys out of 5 in the secondary. And, it's going to be, that way a little bit especially this spring with Emil out and, Mechie out. So those are two significant returners that really won't be there. So Evan Neal is the only starter in the offensive line. We really feel like we got a pretty good group of running backs. This is going to be great for them to get a lot of experience. It's going to be great for the young guys to get a lot of experience at receiver. So we're just going to try to develop these guys one day at a time. We've got 3 quarterbacks in the program. Bryce is probably a little ahead of everybody else because he got a lot of reps last year, even though he didn't get to play that much. He got a lot of reps in practice. There's a lot of good carryover for him. I think he's very confident and he's done a really good job of preparing so far. So the other 2 guys, they're working, they're making improvement. So we're just really focused on improvement, not really the outcome. Certainly, what do we have to do with all these players to get the outcome that we want? And, it's going to be a work in progress, no doubt, but that's why we're practicing.
I love these comments regarding the fact about, the growth and improvement during the springtime, because springtime provides such a great opportunity for everybody to build that cohesiveness that we talk about, for opportunities for guys to step up. And when you look to Alabama's offense, I think there's a lot of question marks going into this season, right? You have the quarterback position. Not a lot of these guys got a lot of repetitions. Now, Nick Saban did mention that Bryce Young is ahead of the other guys. It's not surprising to hear that. He was the only guy who got to play last year. Jalen Milroe is new. Paul Tyson didn't get to play. Nick Saban clearly likes a running back room, as we just talked about. But at the wide receiver position, with John Mechie being out this spring, he noted that he's dealing with an injury from last season. You have all these other wide receivers that are going to get opportunities to showcase their abilities. Talked about Javon Baker. We've talked about Trayshawn Holden, Thao Jones-Bell, even some of these new early enrollees. Ja'Cory Brooks looks great, has some good length. Same with Ajay Hall. And then you got Christian Leary, who I'm hearing really good things about, and Xavier Williams. So all of those wide receivers will get to showcase their abilities during this time and work on improvement. I thought Nick Saban just mentioning the offensive line only returning 1 starter in Evan Neal. That's really interesting because I think that tells us that they haven't really solidified a center position. And you have Chris Owens coming back. So maybe we're going to see Chris Owens rotate at some different positions. I guess we'll just have to wait and see, what Doug Marrone, the new offensive line coach, wants to do when getting the best offensive linemen out on the field. We continue with Saban.
Go to Aaron Suttles.
In your view, what does it say about the competitive character of Brian Robinson that he not only stuck around the program for as long as he did, but chose to come back for another year?
Well, I think it's really says a lot about his maturity and understanding that, if he came back, he would have a more significant role, get to play more, get to show people, what he's really capable of and what he can do. When he did play last year, he played extremely well for us. I was really pleased. He just didn't play that much. And it really wasn't his fault. Najee was one of those kind of guys that, the more he played, the more he ran the ball, the better he got. So he really wasn't one of those guys that you wanted to take in and out of the game all the time. He's just would get on a roll. And I think that probably affected B-Rob's playing time a little bit. But it wasn't his fault. We had all the confidence in the world in him last year. And I think he knows what he has an opportunity to do this year. And he's so far really, really been great in the offseason program and had 3 really good days, and he's providing leadership out there. So I'm encouraged.
I think the key word when Nick Saban talks about Brian Robinson is the fact that there's leadership coming back on the offensive side. Because you look at the offensive side, they're going to need leadership or leaders rather, to step up. You have Evan Neal returning. You have Emil Ekiyor, Chris Owens, guys who are vets. But Brian Robinson really can catapult this offense, and I think in a lot of good ways, and showcase some of these younger running backs, what it takes to be great, continue that strong lineage of Alabama running backs that continue to filter into the NFL. A couple of things that I like about B-Rob. Number one, the experience, 52 games played already. That's a tremendous amount of experience. Looking thick, right? I mean, Brian Robinson has always looked the part. And I think, like Nick Saban just mentioned, they had a lot of confidence in him last year. It was just that Najee was on fire. So you can't take someone out who's really found their rhythm. But I think that going into this year, Brian Robinson can be that bell cow if they need him to. But I think this year, at least in my opinion, you might see somewhat of a rotation after B-Rob has kind of got the offense going. So we're all continuing to track the Alabama running back room, but Brian Robinson coming back, major storyline for the college football season. We continue with Nick Saban.
We have time for 2 more. We'll go to Tony Sakalas.
Nick, we've seen a lot from Jaleel Billingsley at the tight end position, but outside of that, we haven't seen as much from them. What is your assessment of the rest of the tight ends in that unit and how they've progressed heading into the spring?
Well, I mean, it's really too early to really tell, that much about that many guys. Robbie Oots has got a pulled hamstring. The other freshman tight end is, coming off an ACL, so he's still sort of rehabbing and not 100%, but doing a really good job. Major Tennyson has been hurt, so he's limited in practice. So Latu has done a really good job so far. He's really showing some maturity and done a really good job. Jaleel has done a good job. We play Kendall at offensive line and tight end both in practice. So, he's was very effective as a blocker, last year, which I think gives us another option at least at that position. So it's been really not enough information to really evaluate anyone to this point. And really the most important thing is just taking these guys from where they are and getting them to improve, grow knowledge and experience and understanding so that they can play fast and get better. So we haven't had much of an opportunity to do that yet.
Great stuff on the tight ends. I think when you look at the tight ends right now, I mean, a couple points. I mean, from the injury standpoint, he mentioned new early enrollee Robbie Oots out with a hamstring, and then he said Major Tennyson is also out. So you look at 3 tight ends that Alabama has. We've talked about Jaleel Billingsley being their super dynamic and athletic wide receiver / tight end, like I like to refer to him as. You have Cameron Latu. Remember, Latu came to Alabama a couple seasons ago playing outside linebacker. So talk about athleticism, being able to play both sides of the football, but they've kept him at that tight end position. And then you have Kendall Randolph. Kendall Randolph comes back. He played a lot on the offensive line, but they also play him as a tight end in blocking situations. So you do have some good experience at the tight end position, especially when Alabama needs to run the football. Remember, they lose Miller Forrestall, who's headed to the NFL draft, who was recently at Alabama's Pro Day. We continue with Saban's press conference.
Okay, we'll finish up with David Pascal from Chattanooga. Unmute yourself, David.
Nick, with the number of mid-years that you've got and are at other SEC schools, I was wondering, in all your years of coaching, have you had a mid-year that was so impressive during off-season workouts and maybe through those first 4 or 5 practices, like that first full padded practice, to where you knew you could count on him? Or is that just not long enough of a time frame to judge?
Well, I don't think it's fair really to judge guys, that quickly. I think you see potential in guys, and you start to see after maybe 6, 7, 8 practices, maybe after the first scrimmage, that if these guys continue to improve and progress, they're going to be able to help us in some regard. You may even be able to see that, the guy's got a chance to be a potential starter, at some position. But it's not that they're a starter at that point. You just see that they have the ability, if they progress, to be able to do that. And we played a ton of freshmen around here in the past now. And, some of them developed throughout the course of the year, played more in the second half than the first half. But if they can help us win and they can make a contribution to the team, we play them. We've played a lot of freshmen, given a lot of guys a lot of opportunity. And for the most part, they've done a pretty good job in whatever their role has been. But I think it's way too early to really tell, about how that's going to progress at this point.
I think ending out on Nick Saban's press conference from Wednesday night, talking about early enrollees and how those guys are able to progress during the springtime into the season. That's why I think the springtime is very important this year. Remember, last year, Alabama didn't have a spring period. That's why it's so amazing to me to see guys who really showcase their abilities in 2020 as true freshmen. I mean, you look at guys like William Anderson, Malachi Moore, Tim Smith, guys who really had opportunities on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, these guys didn't get a spring period. And I think with these guys this year, 15 early enrollees having the opportunity to go through reps, get opportunities during spring, that only makes Alabama better come the football season. Because are these guys even really freshmen or true freshmen when the season starts? Think about it. If they've early enrolled in January, they went through the fourth quarter program, all the film work, they've met the new coaches, then they go through spring football, and then they get the summer period where they either work out with themselves or trainers and kind of still get acclimated. And then they come back and have the August training period before the football season. So that's a lot of time when these guys come in to get ready for the actual season. So the springtime, certainly a great period for these guys to work on improvement and work on their abilities. Hey, this is a new feature. It's basically a Nick Saban reaction video, kind of what he said, what he meant. I'd appreciate the comments in the comment box. Did you guys like this video? If so, hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. We appreciate you more than you know. Thank you very much for being a part of this 50,000 club right here on BamaInsider.com. Coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. My name is Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com.